All right, today's video is on homelessness and panhandling and the like. Um, so I've been to a bunch of beautiful places around the world, around the country, all that stuff. And one thing that I notice in the nicer the places I go, the more homelessness and um, and panhandling there is. And I got to tell you, listen. So homelessness, or yeah, homelessness, I don't even know if that's the right word, but being homeless used to be a thing where like a guy lost his job, he lost his house, he lost his wife and his kids and like all that other stuff, and he's down in the dumps, he's pushing a shopping cart, and there's just nothing out there to help him find his way again, you know? So everyone just kind of like drives by and is like, oh man, that sucks for Bob. You hear about Bob, he's homeless and whatever, and some people will see Bob at the deli and they'll, hey, let me buy you a sandwich, Bob, or hey, let me give you a couple of bucks to see if make your day a little bit easier, and all that stuff, and that was years ago. That was the '80s and stuff like that, and '90s, whatever, But it seems like if you go to like the places that have more of a touristy area, they have more homelessness, and more panhandlers and all that other stuff. And it's embarrassing because you go to places like San Diego, California, where a lot of people from around the world, they go to these spots also, and they bring their kids there and all that other stuff. The Florida, all of the Florida areas, the Florida Keys, the Miami, any of the beaches in Florida and all that other stuff. New York City, anywhere really through California, there's a lot of places that have beautiful areas that are just overrun by homelessness and panhandling. And I have conversations with people because I have no problem walking by somebody on the street that says, hey buddy, can you spare a dime? And no, I can't. I remember where I first got that concept. My sister, one of my sisters has since passed away to cancer. She was one of the funniest people on the planet, with one-liners and all that other stuff, So we were in New York City. We were at Times Square, and we were in Dunkin' Donuts, and we were getting a cup of coffee, and I think we were just hanging out in the city for the day or whatever. And a homeless man, she was there. She got her coffee. Me and her were standing there at like the little coffee making area, and we were mixing in our stuff or whatever. And a homeless man came up to her, and automatically I thought like, oh, this guy's gonna ask us for money, and I start like kind of like, do I have any change in my pocket? Do I have any singles? I don't want to pull out any big bills in New York City. That's just like a thing you just don't do. So I was like, I wonder if I might have change from this coffee. So the guy says, hey, can you help me out? And my sister, without even missing a beat, she turns to him and says, yeah, the classifieds are on page 12. And just turned around and walked away with a coffee. And I was standing there like, oh, like, what? And I remember going outside and saying to her, like, oh, and for people who don't know what a newspaper is anymore, the classifieds are, like, how you get jobs, like listings of jobs on the classified section of the newspaper. So people who were looking for jobs, they would flip through the paper. You had the sports section, you had the main section, you had the classified section, you had the advertisement section. So the classified section was like the job search section. So when we went outside, I was like, oh, that was like so awkward. That was crazy. And she was like, listen, you can't beg your way through life. You know what I mean? You have to hold people accountable because, if you just give people money, then, they're just going to ask for money. You know what I mean? But if they can't get any money, they're going to have to come up with another way to make money. She says, it's like the do not feed the bears sign, When you go to to these places and they have a sign that says do not feed the bears, it's because when the bears come there and you feed the bears, well, the bears will always come there to be fed. And if you all of a sudden stop showing up, the bears will come there to get fed. There will be no food, and they'll just sit and wait. And sooner or later, they're going to forget how to hunt, and they're going to not have that killer instinct, and they're not going to be savage, and they're not going to be all of those things. So are you actually helping the bears, or are you hurting the bears? So if you don't feed the bears will go and be bears, and they'll go and they'll hunt, and they'll find food, and they'll do the things that they have to do. But if you constantly feed them, you're going to take that willingness to survive and the willingness to survive away from them, and that's just not how you do business. So when I walked away, I thought to myself, wow, that's pretty interesting, because how many homeless people do you run into? If you run into homeless people, some of you people may never run into them, but how many homeless people that you run into that you can honestly say, if that guy tried to get a job, there's no way he could. It's just not possible. He just couldn't get a job. He's that homeless, or he's that mentally screwed up, or physically screwed up, or whatever it is. And I'll tell you, it's very few and far between that I come across that, right? So what do you come across now in homeless people? What you come across is a lot of people who are like that same thing that I was saying before, who down and out in their luck, lost their house, their car, their family, blah, 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 and got caught up in this situation. Here they are, they're homeless. So what has society done for the homeless for the last 30 years? Well, they started building not started building, but they have homeless shelters. I think every big city across the country has homeless shelters, right? So there's really shouldn't be, and I don't know the exact numbers. Some people would argue with me that, like, you say that, but there's 100,000 homeless people in New York City alone, and every bed in a shelter place is only 70,000. So there's 30,000 people who are forced to live on the street. I don't know the numbers, and nor do I care. What I'm saying is that there are shelters. There are people that are willing to help. There are people that are trying to ensure that you don't spend the night out in the cold, right? So those people who are down and out, or maybe they're mentally, not all there, or whatever. These shelters will bring them in and give them warmth and clothing and a place to sleep. You have soup kitchens that are willing to feed them. So if you're homeless and you're really down and out, and you have a desire to no longer be homeless, and you have a desire to become a productive member of society again, there are ways that could be done, right? So you're down and out, you do all that stuff, you find yourself homeless, you go to a homeless shelter and you say, listen, I need some help, I'm homeless, I'm mentally insane, or they find out you're mentally insane. There's places that they'll take you to get on medication or get on whatever, and literally from soup to nuts, from beginning to end, they'll walk you through the whole process on trying to get back on your feet. Now I'm not sure if they do job searches for you and do all that other stuff, but for the most part they'll assist you in the best that they can to keep you from being homeless again. If you're a vet, and you're homeless, there's plenty of veterinary no, not veterinary, what the hell, veterans assistances, the VA and stuff like that will help homeless veterans. So there's all these programs that are out there. It's not like it used to be where you were just homeless, someone will give you a couple of bucks, there's no one who's willing to help you, and you're just out there on your own, right? So homelessness should not be a thing. Homelessness should be where Joe, the beat cop who's walking around, sees a guy who's living on the side of the road and he's drinking out of a wine bottle in a paper bag, and he stops him and says, hey man, what's going on with you? And the guy says, oh, I lost my house, I lost my car, I lost my kids, I lost everything, I don't know what to do. And the cop says, hey, let me make a phone call for you. There's a person who runs a shelter over here, let me have him come pick you up. You spend the night there, you get a shower and shave, maybe, if you have an alcohol problem, we'll get you settled and see what we can do. Then a homeless guy says, wow, that's great. I really appreciate this. This is society really looking out for me. And, that's great, Or the guy just mumbles some kind of gibberish and the cop says, I think this guy's a little, a little out of his mind or a little whatever. He might need more help than just a sandwich and some clothes. So, he calls somebody else who comes and takes this guy and does whatever. And that basically gets rid of, homelessness, but there's another epidemic. There's another part of homelessness that literally drives me insane, and it's panhandling, right? So you go to any of these beautiful places, the Florida Keys, whatever, and you have people, hey, buddy, can you spare a dime? Or, hey, buddy, can you spare a dime? Do people even say that anymore? That's ludicrous. Because if you're like, yeah, sure, I can spare a dime, and you give the guy a dime, then he's going to be there for an awful long time trying to collect dimes. But, so panhandling, right? So you have these panhandlers and they say, hey, excuse me, they wait for you to come out of a store, knowing that you're going to have some kind of change or whatever. Or they wait for you to come out of a restaurant knowing that, you're going to feel guilty that, your belly's all full. You just came out of this nice restaurant and here this guy is in dirty clothes and he's filthy and all that other stuff. And he just needs a help. He just needs a hand up. He just needs some help. And most people say, oh, here's a buck, here's $2. Some people feel like they're the savior of the world. Here's $20, whatever. But what I found with the panhandlers now is that the panhandlers are mostly young age people. They're mostly in their 20s, and they'll go to like crossways of like highways or whatever, and there'll be like two or three of them, and they'll go to each corner of the highway on the light and whatever, and they'll be begging for money and be asking and all that other stuff. Or they'll hold up a sign. There's a guy that in a town that I used to live in would hold up a sign that says, "Trying to get home, need money for bus ticket." And I swear to God, the guy was there for 8 years. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who he was preying on or whatever, but it must have been a good gig because they kept giving him money, and he's been there forever. So and a lot of people have those crazy signs like "Not gonna lie, need weed," or "Not gonna lie, need a drink," or any of those things. And I think that panhandling should be illegal. I don't think that you should be allowed to do that, because if there's something wrong with you mentally, physically, you're homeless, you're down in your luck, well, then go to the shelter, go to these places, and there's people that are going to take care of you. But if there's nothing wrong with you, and you're just out here because you don't want to pay taxes, and because it's the greatest country in the world, and you have the freedom to do this and the freedom to do that, that's great. But you shouldn't have the freedom to loiter on the streets and make people feel uncomfortable about them not giving you money or doing whatever. Like, that should not be the way things are. So this is what I suggest. What I suggest is that you make panhandling illegal, 100% across the board. You don't ask nobody for nothing. If you want something, you go to the shelter, you go to whatever. If you get caught asking people for money on the street, you get a ticket, right? Here's a $25 ticket. You ain't allowed to panhandle on this street, and you need to beat it, right? Okay, great. Well, what happens when you get caught the second time? You get a second ticket. All right, $25 ticket. Listen, my man, I'm not going to tell you again. Get your ass off the streets. Stop asking people for money. Go get a damn job and make things happen. Okay, the third time, nope, now you get the cuffs, brother. Now you're getting cuffed up. We're going to take you down to the police station. And now we told you 3 times, don't be living on the street. Don't do any of that stuff. You can't take care of yourself. Well, then the court system's going to take care of you, or the jail system's going to take care of you, or somebody's going to take care of you. And I think what you'll find is a lot of these 20-year-old people that are begging on the streets, they're going to spend a week in jail and realize, like, the gig's up. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be begging for money anymore. I can't be doing that. I can't be panhandling. And I think what that will do is it will start to clean up some of these tent cities you see, some of these... in California, there's like a whole coastline of people that are living in tents. Like, California is one of like the richest states in the country, and they have people living in tents on the side of the road, and they have a problem with human feces. Like, these people, now, no fault of their own, because where else are they going to go? They don't have a bathroom. They're homeless, and if you don't have a home, chances are you don't have a bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, that just makes common sense. So these people are just walking into the trees and going to the bathroom. Well, walking into the trees just happens to be somebody's backyard. Or, because in California, you don't just have wide open areas where you have a lot of tourists and you have, wide open areas. It's usually houses are on top of each other and everything. So they're finding feces in the city streets, they're finding feces on people's sidewalks, they're finding feces all over the place. So what does California do? Instead of saying, hey, listen, you can't do that, and we're going to get rid of homelessness, they hire a feces cleanup crew. They hire a crew that goes around, I don't know if daily or nightly or whatever, and they have a brush, and they have a sweeper, and they have a whole thing, a big machine, and they sanitize the ground, and they do everything. And now they're paying these people $1,000 to go, or whatever it is, to go and clean up feces on a daily basis. It's insane. It's ludicrous. But we got to solve the problem somehow, So I say that once you start getting, Mayor Giuliani, right? When Giuliani was in New York, he got rid of all sorts of homelessness. He got rid of all the homeless people. Now, how did he get rid of them? I don't know. Did he chase them down into the subways and make them so that out of sight, out of mind? I don't know, maybe. Maybe he just made it so painful for them that it wasn't lucrative for them to beg in New York. So they all went to Jersey, or they all went down to Florida, or they all went somewhere where it would be more lucrative to do and not get the people won't bust their chops when they do it, But there has to be something that has to be done about this, because you go to Disney World or Disneyland and all that, like right outside the gates of these places. It's like a third world country. It's like all sorts of disgusting. And it's not even like they're keeping up with, trying to make things nice and everyone has their tents looking pretty and all that. It's just there's drug needles and it's just disgusting. It's just a horrible, horrible situation. And it seems like we are kowtowing to these people and saying like, well, what are you going to do? They have the right and they have the freedom and but I don't really believe that they do. I don't really believe that you have the right and the freedom to loiter and make other people's property values go down and make other people's enjoyment of these beautiful places make you feel like you're doing something wrong. You know what I mean? And I think the best way, like I said, to do that is ticket these people, get them off the streets, and listen. It might sound a little bit harsh what I'm saying about the panhandlers, because I don't believe panhandlers are real. I don't believe that's a real struggle. I don't believe that's a real thing. You know what I mean? I believe that that's just a quick way to make money without having to show up to go to work and answer to a boss. You just go and you just sit with a sign and you just tell people how rough you got it, and whoever has the worst sign, there's people out here panhandling with goddamn dogs. Like, how hard is your life that you can't find any food, but yet you got a goddamn dog? What is a dog eating? And why aren't you eating the dog? No, I'm only joking. Don't eat the dog. But how does that work? So now you don't have any money. You don't have a home. You don't have anything. You're starving. You need help. And what happened to the "We'll work for food" signs? Why aren't you working for food anymore? What happened to that? It's insane. And how did homeless people get fat? How is that even happening? I walk down the street and I see a fat guy with a dog holding up a sign saying, "Hungry, anything helps," or or whatever. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, that's insulting to my intelligence. But, you have these other people that, come from Japan, or they come from, any southern countries or Europe or whatever. And they're like, wow, how sad it is in America that this poor man and his dog are homeless, and the United States isn't doing anything about it. They're just letting this happen. Like, come on, man. So listen, people of America who live in these beautiful places, please do not feed the bears. Do not feed the bears. Let them go and find ways to once again make themselves part of being a productive member of society. And if they need help, get the help that they need, and then become a productive member of society. The more people that give people money, the more people who will not work for that money and who will just stand around waiting for people to give them money. So please, stop giving them money, stop giving them time, or give them time if they need a place to go and all that other stuff, and you want to help them out and get them in a shelter and all that other stuff. But for the most part, stop all the craziness and do not feed the bears. Thank you.